CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamp.
It is time for our dairy panel. And I did leave some instructions outside when I started the show that, Anne, this is yours, because I'm not quite as organised. But I can see our guest there, Colin Glass. G'day, Colin. Welcome to CountryWide Connect, mate. Really appreciate it. Lovely to see you.
No, happy to join, Andy. And how are you, Anne?
I'm great.
You're looking well.
Great, thank you, Colin. Very good. Wonderful to have you on, and thank you for making time for us, because you must have a very busy schedule at the moment, trying to tick off all those to-do things on your list before you depart your role of 25 years. So, yeah, great to have you on the show.
No, there's certainly a few things I've been told I've still got to wrap up. So, no, looking forward to the end, but it's certainly a rush to the finish line.
So, Dairy Holdings is one of New Zealand's biggest dairy farmers, if not the biggest dairy farmer in New Zealand, with, I don't know, you can tell us, something like 50,000 cows, 59 dairy farms.
Yeah, close, and it seems to keep moving. That's just over 60,000 cows and in excess of, what are we now, 63 farms, and depending on another transaction, could be a little bit larger even by the end of the month as well. So it's certainly grown.
Great to see that Dairy Holdings still has that positivity and where the sector's heading. And you, I know, have been one of the great champions of the dairy sector here in New Zealand over your 25 years. Colin, you started out around 2001 with the formation of Dairy Holdings. So you've been there right from, the formation of Fonterra. There's a lot of things were happening back in those days. And then we had an amazing transition and the things that went on in Canterbury and Southland. Tell us a little bit about some of the highlights of that time that you have spent there at the helm.
Oh, look, as you rightly say, and the formation of Fonterra way back in 2001 coincided with the formation as well of Dairy Holdings, and so just the beating down of the various farming interests and bringing what were basically two corporate farming groups that predated Dairy Holdings together with Tasman Agriculture and Dairy Brands. So that was a unique time, but I guess you look back, that first 10 years of this millennia has been an unbelievable time in dairy, unprecedented growth. We've seen the changes throughout Canterbury and throughout Southland that I know won't be repeated again in our lifetimes. And it was just a neat time to be involved in the sector with all the change that was happening, but with the new generations, new families coming into the South Island and stepping up and being part of our communities. Just a fantastic time to be in farming and especially in dairy farming.
Yeah. Colin, Anne. I just want to ask you about one of the things that Dairy Holdings is very well known for is bringing young people, young families, young couples through into farm ownership through your structure and your systems. Was that intentional in the beginnings, or was that kind of like a happy accident of bringing staff in and keeping them going? What's the logic behind that, or how did that come about?
That's a great question, Andy, and I'd love to say that it was part of the grand plan right from the start, but it wasn't. It never was. But what we had right on day one is you had the farms that came from Tasman Agriculture all had 50-50 share milkers on them. The farms that came from Dairy Brands were all managed farms. So right from day one, we had this unique mix of farms that came together, and it was presented to us on a plate, really, where we had this internal progression structure if we managed it well. And then over the years, as we've become self-contained and expanded, opportunities have grown. So in time, probably after about the first 4 or 5 years, we really did truly appreciate what we had, and we turned that into quite a unique progression model. So that's been kind of nice, really, over those years, and a massive number of people have come through the business now and moved on to farm ownership.
It must be massively satisfying to be leading, to be involved in that and look at the young couples, the families, the farmers that have come through that structure for you personally.
Well, look, personally, Andy, it's been really, really nice because in pretty well all cases, those that have progressed through to farm ownership, they've all gone through a bit of a tough time. So they've had a period of time where it's really enabled them to knuckle down, be clear with what they want to do. They know that they want to be dairy, absolutely, but then they've actually had to make some personal sacrifice to really get ahead. And we have seen that happen. We've seen a large number of people that have gone from strength to strength, but they need that piece that really challenges them about why they want to do it, and that they're really willing to make those sacrifices to get ahead. For those that do that, then they absolutely fly, and that's been the nice thing. Usually it's come in the wake of a payout correction or costs spiking up or some other challenge, whether it's consenting, whatever it might be, but they've had to go through something that's really challenged them, and that's where they've flown on the back of it.
So that's been the vehicle for them to get to that farm ownership situation with, through contract milking, share milking, and you've maintained that as part of the business, whereas other corporates might not so often do that. Tell us the other part of that, though, is the systems that you run and that unrelenting focus on your profit margin and managing your pastures, and that's your number one priority. Tell us a little bit more about that, because that's something that, it's still something that we talk about now, and it's the major driver of profitability.
Well, you did right, and when you look back at the Dairy Holdings business, certainly pasture management, that's been at our absolute core. But to enable those couples to progress and grow, really, I've always said it comes with hard work, a savings culture, and then they need the opportunity as well. And often in many farm businesses, people have the hard work, they've got the savings culture, but they don't always get the opportunity to progress. And when you bring that together with the farm system that is profitable year in, year out, with the ability to grow, that's where we see young couples really, really progress. But at the same time, like Dairy Holdings hasn't been doing it to be a charity, they've been doing it to get ahead as well. And that's probably been the nice thing for me, is that we've been able to see young couples progress and grow, but the Dairy Holdings business has grown beside it. It's been that real unique win-win that I guess the share milking and contract milking industry in New Zealand has been known for amongst those that are successful.
So Blair Robinson steps up to take over very soon. When do you actually leave, Colin?
It's a very good question. I've got a big long list to do before the end of the month, and Blair is officially chief executive from the 1st of June. But he tells me I've got a few things that I've got to keep on and do, and a little bit of that will be around some of the irrigation scheme and consenting things, that particularly off the Rakai River. But I guess that's been a big part of the Dairy Holdings business, and probably it'd be nice for me to be able to close some of that stuff out and make it easier for Blair and the team into the future as well.
So what's next? I've been told that there's a Fonterra directorship floating around. Is that on the agenda?
You never say never for what's around the corner, Eddie. For me, the Dairy Holdings, and before that Tasag, has been a big part of my life and our families and kids' lives, really. And so I'm just looking forward to having a bit of a clear runway following the step down from Dairy Holdings. The bit that I've always loved has been farming, and so we've got our own farming operations at Methven, keen to really double down and see. Because I'm so upbeat about the future for the sector, keen to see what we can do ourselves personally. And that is if I can survive the job interview with Paula. So we just have to see how long that lasts. Paula's always said to me over all the years, where couples never work well together. And she keeps saying that to me every time we're working together, whether it's been in the Dairy Holdings office, as she was the company accountant for years, or even in the weekends and the cattle yards. And I think there's a few couples out there that can probably relate to the challenge of cattle yard work. But yes. I'm about to see what the next chapter holds.
I was going to say, that's a great non-answer there. You'd make a good politician.
Oh, I didn't thought of that one.
What have I done wrong?
No, I'm only teasing.
Tell us.
We've also got a couple of governance roles through some of the businesses associated with Dairy Holdings as well. So don't worry, I don't think I'll be twiddling my thumbs for too long, but very, very excited about the next step all the same.
So you have had a role at Dairy NZ as well, a governance role there. And as you say, you've been very much a part of some of the other aspects of farming here in Canterbury and in Southland too. Tell us, what do you see as those big opportunities you mentioned before? What is your crystal ball or your feeling about where dairying is heading?
I guess firstly, and we are going through an amazing period of change right now with this oil-induced inflation that's coming our way. I guess I'm quite biased. I see that New Zealand farming businesses, particularly those with a really strong pasture focus, can compete internationally really well. So we're going to see a whole lot of dairy farmers all around the world get really challenged by cost inflation in this next few months. I'm biased. I think farms based in Canterbury, Southland and Otago are very, very well positioned to be able to navigate that challenge and grow and prosper on the back of it. Probably the other bit is that it's more at an environmental level. I've seen massive change in how dairy farmers behave, how they take on their social responsibility. And nowadays, we can see that the footprint on farm can be reduced by going to dairy. And I think that's now quite a change in psyche for many. So there's a lot of other farm businesses that are challenged for profitability. That dairy conversion is now something that's on the radar for them. So I think the future is really bright. Whether we're able to be part of that ourselves in our own farming business, time will tell, but that's the exciting part, really.
Hey, Colin, thank you. Just want to say thank you on behalf of a lot of farmers out there and people in the sector. You've been a pleasure to work with and always some great challenging ideas and forethought. So thanks for all you've done.
Well, it's been my absolute privilege, but look, I'm not unique. I've been surrounded by some brilliant mentors and champions of this sector over the years, and I just think the likes of Alan Hubbard, of Colin and Dale Armour, and Greg Gent, those people have really stood out for me. So that's the nice thing about the sector, is that we're surrounded by people that really look forward, look at the next generation, and are happy to give of their time to let us all progress. So it's been a great industry.
All right. Hey, Colin, we really appreciate it. And lovely to talk to you. Always enjoy our catch-ups, albeit too briefly, but we might be able to catch up a little bit more now you're in semi-retirement by the sound of it.
Well, I might need to get a leave pass from here indoors. We'll see how we go, Andy.
All right, mate. Fantastic. Colin Glass, retiring from his role as Chief Executive of Dairy Holdings. And I know you've spent a lot of time dealing with Dairy Holdings over the years, but it is a very special organisation, particularly. I know they have their detractors at times, for certain things, but that overarching progression and bringing so many young people through, young families, young couples through into the dairy industry, into farm ownership is something that really is probably the thing that I think most about when I think about Dairy Holdings. Yeah,
and their pasture first, pasture basic, and managing those costs on that side of thing too. Very much involved with the Pasture Summit, and that's where you'll see time and time again some of those great numbers coming out. But yeah, and as I say, Colin's been a great champion of the sector on a wider basis too.
CountryWide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lapp.